Welcome to the lecture series on network and cyber security. So this is lecture number 11 from module number 2. So before going through the present lecture, so let's see what all the contents we covered in the previous lecture. So in previous lecture we discussed in detail about the PGP, the Pretty Good Privacy Email Security Protocol. So we discussed how it provides different services for the security purpose of the mail transmission from the sender to the receiver. In previous class we discussed about the confidentiality only service provided by the PGP, how it provides, what all the operations it performs, what all the keys and what all the algorithms it uses for this confidentiality service. So here we saw that CAST 128 or IDEA or DDES are the algorithms which can be used to provide the symmetric encryption, to provide the confidentiality services by the PGP. We also discussed about the confidentiality and authentication service, both providing simultaneously for the security of the email transmission. So there we discussed about why the authentication should be provided first before the confidentiality and what all the operations should be performed, how the hash code and where the hash code should be generated. We discussed why the hash code should be generated on the original message, not on the encrypted message. So first we will generate the hash code of the original message and then we go for the encryption. We also discussed about the compression that PGP uses, what is the algorithm and where should be this compression applied, in which block, after which operation and before which operation in the PGP. We discussed that after the authentication we apply the compression, that is the zip algorithm, ZIP, and then we go for the encryption of the message, compressed message. And we also discussed why we are going to apply this symmetric encryption on the compressed message, why not before compression. So we also discussed about the email compatibility provided by the PGP, and this is the one of the main reason why this PGP is widely used nowadays. So this this PGP provides compatibility with the different operating system platforms in different industries for personal use also. So that's why this PGP is more popular nowadays compared to other standards. So these all we have discussed using the diagrams, figures, and we also see how the PGP is operated, combining all these 4 services provided by the PGP. PGP mainly provides 4 different services for the email security. One is the authentication only service, second one is the confidentiality and authentication, and third one is the compression, and fourth one is the compatibility. So today we will see the second standard or the second security protocol for the mail transmission, that is SMIME, that is the Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension. So this SMIME is the extension of the previous standards that we have taken from different RFCs. So in today's class we are also going to discuss about the RFC 5322, which is the Internet Message Standard. We take this as a standard format for the internet mail transmission. So we will discuss about this, and we also discuss about the MIME, from which the SMIME is emerged or extended. So outcome of today's lecture is students will have the better understanding of the basics of the security protocol for email transmission, that is the SMIME. In previous lecture, in lecture number 10, we saw the PGP in detail. So today we will see the SMIME, the second security protocol for the mail transmission through the internet. So starting with the SMIME, that is Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension. So these both SMIME and PGP are considered for the IETF standards. So this IETF stands for Internet Engineering Task Force, which we have already discussed in our previous classes. So this is an international body for the information technology, which decides the standards and which accepts these RFCs. So both SMIME and PGP can be considered by the IETF as the standard, but depending on the application where we are using it, so it can be more likely to be considered that SMIME will emerge as a standard for the industries, for the commercial purpose, and for the organizations, while PGP will be popular for the personal email security protection for most of the users. So we are studying both mail security protocols here. So SMIME is basically, we can consider it as a standard for the industry or the commercial applications, whereas the PGP is for the individual applications. So this SMIME is a security enhancement to the MIME, that is multipurpose internet mail extension. This SMIME is defined in a number of documents, especially in RFCs 3370, 3850, 3851 and 3852. So these are the RFCs. RFCs are nothing but the request for comments. These are the documents which are given to these international internet standards, standard bodies or committees, for the verification or for the new models, for new ideas, or for any changes or for any recommendations. So these RFCs are the documents for in the information society or the internet society. Basically, in internet society, we consider these RFCs are the documents to provide some new ideas or models, and these can be given by the standard organizations, international organizations, some committees, some small committees, some big committees, and even an individual author can also give the RFC to the internet society, where it will be scrutinized or reviewed by the experts or the standard organizations, and then in some of these RFCs are converted to the standards by the IETF. And most of the RFCs are just for reading purpose, for recommendations, but only few of the RFCs are converted into the standards. So to understand SMIME, first we need to understand the underlying email format that it uses, and that email format is given by the MIME, is taken from the MIME, which is again one standard taken from one RFC. And to understand MIME, we need to go back to the traditional formats, traditional email formats, which is actually declared or defined in RFC 822 or 821, which is actually still in use in some of the areas. The most recent version of this format, this email format defined in RFC 822, is given in a new RFC 5322, which we are going to discuss today. And this RFC 5322 is generally known as the internet message format, which is specially designed for the mail transmission through the internet. So coming to the RFC 5322, it defines a format for text messages that are sent using the electronic mail. So it has been the standard for mail transmission, which is in text form and which is through the internet, which is used still now. So in the RFC 5322 context, messages are viewed as having an envelope and the contents. So just like the normal post that we do, that we write and send, which is having an envelope, a letter is enclosed in the envelope, and the letter is having the actual content, actual message. So just like in the same way here, consists of an envelope and the actual content, that is the message. The envelope contains the information which is required for the transmission and the delivery purpose. The envelope, the outside envelope that we use to cover the letter. So here in RFC 5322, that envelope is defined for the delivery purpose or for the transmission purpose, because the envelope contains the information which is required for the transmission or the delivery of the mail, and the content within that envelope is the actual body of the message which is to be delivered to the receiver. So this RFC 5322 standard applies only to the contents. So this one thing we need to remember here. So RFC 5322 it declares or it views as a mail as a envelope and the contents, but RFC 5322 provides the rules or defines the standards only for the contents, not for the envelope. Okay, so RFC 5322 provides the rules only for the contents. It provides the standard to write the mail. So this standard includes a set of header fields. So it is providing some standard, and that standard includes a set of header fields that one should enter while writing the mail. And this content of header fields is used by the mail system to create the envelope. So one thing we should remember here, that RFC 5322, so this RFC is providing the standard, and this standard is only for the contents, not for the envelope. And who will generate this envelope? The mail system. The mail system which is supported in our server. So that mail system will create the envelope looking at the contents. So this content is given by the RFC 5322. This content of the header fields is used by the mail system to create the envelope. So there is no any standard provided by the RFC 5322 for envelope creation. So that is the main point here. So we should note that there is no any standard provided by the RFC 5322 for envelope creation. It is providing the standards or the rules only for the writing of the content of the message, content of the mail, not the envelope. The mail system will itself do that, looking at the contents of the header field in message body, and it will create the envelope. The standard will help and provide the facility to the mail system to acquire the required information to create this envelope. So RFC 5322 is providing the standards to write the mail contents, and that contents, looking at that content, the mail system is itself creating the envelope, and that envelope is used for the transmission and the delivery of the mail. So this is what it happens here in the RFC 5322. A message consists of some number of header lines, that is the header, and which is followed by the unrestricted text, the actual body. The header is separated from the body by a blank line. So this message, the body which is containing the actual message is in the ASCII text, and all lines up to the blank line is considered to be the header lines. A header line usually consists of a keyword followed by a colon followed by the keyword's arguments. So this is the format mentioned in the RFC. This format allows long lines of header and message, also the message, to be broken into several lines. So these keywords are very simple one. The most frequently used keywords are the actual keywords that we write during the actual letter writing, that is from, to, subject of the mail, date of the mail. So these are the different fields or the keywords used in the header lines of the RFC 5322. We will see one example here. So this is one example mail which is in the RFC 5322 format. So here we can see, so date is the keyword followed by the colon and followed by the keywords arguments. So date is the keyword followed by the colon followed by the arguments. So from is another keyword followed by the colon followed by the arguments. So in the same way, subject colon arguments, to colon arguments, CC, that is carbon copy, colon arguments. So after these there is a blank line which we will consider it as a separator between the header and the body. So up to this blank line, whatever we write is the header part. So we will consider that as a header part, which should be in this format. The format consists of the keyword, colon and the arguments related to that keyword. So after this blank line, whatever we write, it will take it as a actual message. So this is the format given by the RFC 5322. So now coming to this MIME. So this multipurpose internet mail extension, MIME, is an extension to the RFC 5322 framework that is intended to address some of the problems and limitations of the use of simple mail transfer protocol, that is SMTP. So we know that there are some problems and limitations in the SMTP and related RFC. The related RFC to this SMTP is RFC 821 or 822. We can consider it as 822 or 821. So 822 or 821 are considered or converted into the standard, and we called that as the SMTP in early days. So that SMTP is having a lot of problems and the limitations. So now this multi-purpose internet mail extension is an extension to the RFC 5322, whatever we saw just now, to overcome these limitations. So first we will discuss about the limitations today, and then we will see the MIME, what all the things it got improved in the MIME and what all the new additions are taken into this new format to overcome these problems. So first we will discuss about this SMTP and its problems. So simple mail transfer protocol is taken as a standard from RFC 821 or 822. So limitations, coming to the limitations of SMTP and 5322 scheme and other RFCs also. So SMTP, the first limitation is the SMTP cannot transmit executable files or other binary objects. So SMTP cannot transmit executable files which are binary files. So SMTP cannot transmit the binary files. So that is the main thing here. So the problem, for this problem there was actually a solution provided in those days, and the solution was actually there are some schemes available for converting these binary files into a text ASCII text. So these binary files are converted into ASCII characters, and then that is transmitted by the SMTP to the receiver side. So this was the actual solution given in early days, but that solution was not recommended by this IETF. So they say that it should not be done, it should not be carried out. So we should not use those schemes for converting binary files to ASCII characters and then send using the SMTP, because it is not secure using the SMTP after conversion. So that is the one problem we are facing, one limitation, that ASCII characters should be there, it should not, and SMTP cannot transmit the executable files. The second limitation is SMTP cannot transmit the text data that includes the national language characters. It will transmit only those characters which are given in the 128-bit ASCII characters. So any special character which is outside the ASCII character set is not supported in the SMTP, because these characters are represented as a 8-bit codes, and these 8-bit codes are nothing but the binary values, and these binary values are not supported in the SMTP. Coming to the third problem, SMTP servers may reject mail messages over a certain size. So SMTP servers support mails of a certain size only, above which servers will reject the mail messages. So that is one big problem to consider the next standard. Coming to the fourth problem, there is a problem of translation from ASCII character to the character code, which is supported by the different standards. So there is a problem of translation which is not consistent. This translation of ASCII character to the character code is not consistent, so that why it is a problem in the SMTP, which is done by the SMTP gateway. This translation from ASCII character to character code is done by the SMTP gateway, where it is not consistent, and that is creating the translation problems. Coming to the next problem, SMTP gateways cannot handle non-textual data. That means the multimedia attachments that we apply to this mail is not supported by the SMTP. So there is a problem of compatibility of SMTP with other mail systems. So there are mail systems which will support the multimedia attachments, multimedia files, which are compatible with multimedia files for the transmission, but this SMTP is not compatible with those kind of mail systems. SMTP actually does not support non-textual data, which is included in other mail systems like X400 messages. X400 messages includes all multimedia files like text, audio, video. All multimedia files can be included in the mail, can be attached to the mail, and we can transmit that mail to the receiver side, but this is not possible in the SMTP mail systems. So that is one more limitation of the SMTP. The last limitation is some SMTP implementations do not adhere completely to the SMTP standards defined in the RFC 821. So there are many implementations which are defined by the SMTP standards, which is defined in RFC 821, which is not properly implemented during the transmission of the SMTP messages, mails. So some of the problems are deletion, addition, or a reordering of these messages in the mail, and also if the length of the message increases more than 76 characters, so there is a problem of truncating it or segmenting it and rejoining it at the receiver side. So that is one more problem. The other problems are removal of the white space. The white space created because of the tab that we press during the writing of the mail, and the space characters, the space bar. When we press the space bar, it will create the white space, and that white space cannot be removed by the SMTP during the transmission. So that is another problem. And there is one more problem of padding of lines in a message to come to the same length. So padding of lines in a message is also a problem. And there is one more problem of conversion of tab characters into the multiple space characters. So when we press the tab, it will take multiple space characters. So that is not performed in the SMTP. So that is one more problem. So these are the limitations of the SMTP or 5322 scheme, so which we need to overcome for the easy transmission of the mail. So these limitations or problems are solved or overcome by the MIME, which we are going to discuss in the next lecture, where we will see that MIME is having some new specifications and new standards for to overcome these limitations. We will see that this MIME will include few more headers in the header field, and MIME also defines some standards for the multimedia files. MIME will also define some standards for transfer encoding. So we will see all those in the next lecture. Coming to the summary of today's lecture, in today's class we saw introduction to the SMIME and the email format defined by RFC 5322. This RFC 5322 is the main base for the SMIME, because depending on the format of the RFC 5322 we are going to define the SMIME format. So we also discussed the overview of the MIME, where we saw what all the main problems that the SMTP is facing, for which to overcome we are going for the next standard, that is the MIME. Thank you.